G'day QT folks, it's Benjamin Law here. I'm the author of The Family Law, which I understand you've been reading as part of your book club, and I'm so grateful that you're making the time for that. Thank you so much. Patricia's been sending me some of your comments and feedback, which has all been really great and interesting to read. The Family Law, as you would have noticed, is actually a book that I wrote, I started writing it at least a decade ago now, based on a few magazine columns and things that I'd been writing for Frankie magazine. And it's strange because I was writing this book in my 20s, and I don't actually think, in retrospect, anyone should write a memoir in their 20s because you haven't really lived that much life. But at the same time, I am kind of glad that I wrote it then, because I was writing the book with a lot of perhaps naive chutzpah, and a lot of the stuff that I wrote then is stuff that I wouldn't write about now. As you would see and have read from the book, this is an account of so many things. There's not one distinct joint narrative. It's a collection of essays. And so in part the book is about growing up gay, growing up Asian, growing up gay and Asian on the Sunshine Coast in the 90s during the height of Hansonism, as my parents' marriage fell apart. It's basically the classic Australian story, really. And of course it's about digging into my family's past, whether it's the events that happened in 1986 with my family's forced deportation, or trying to discover and understand more about my father and his father and their relationship together. And the funny thing is, The Family Law, even though it's kind of a disjointed hot mess of a book, it's become different things in some ways. So obviously it's become a TV show, and that TV show distilled one part of the narrative where we just really wanted to focus for 2 seasons on the story of Danny and Jenny and their separation and what a post-nuclear family looks like. And in the 3rd and current season of The Family Law, which is still on SBS On Demand, we've basically got the first ever teen coming out story ever shown on Australian television. We've had adult queer stories on TV, but we've never had a teenage one. So we're very proud to have broken that ground. And if you haven't watched the TV show yet, it's on SBS On Demand. But the other thing that you should watch is the Gogglebox review of The Family Law, which really warmed my heart to see so many different Australians' reactions to the 3rd and final season of the show. So thank you so much for engaging with my work. Thank you for making the time to read about me and my family. I can already tell you now that later this year, in around October 2019, we'll have a further extension of me exploring my family history for a 2-part documentary for the ABC. And as much as it's looking at my family and my history, it's looking at Chinese Australian history as a whole. That actually goes back centuries, even before the gold rush, it turns out. So thank you very much, and happy reading, not just of my book, but of other Asian Australian narratives and of other queer Australian narratives too. Cheers.